You're on local radio, WMOA, AM 1490 and FM 101.3. My name is Ben Marshall, and I am honored to be joined now by Major Ross Elder, a member of the United States Air Force. Major Elder, we appreciate you joining us on the radio.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So let's start off a little bit. Talk about you are a Williamstown graduate. So you are, of course, sort of from the area here in the Marietta area as we are at WMOA. So let's get a little background on you and maybe specifically talk about what drew you to the Air Force, which, as I understand, is kind of a lifelong pursuit for you.
That's definitely true. Yeah, I grew up in St. Mary's and then went to high school at Williamstown. And then my dad obviously is a coach and teacher at Marietta, so definitely grew up in the area. For me, I had a cousin that graduated from the Air Force Academy. I went on to go fly the C-130, and it was kind of the only intro that I knew that the Air Force even existed at the time. For me, I had always had a lifelong goal of becoming an astronaut. And when I realized that the Air Force Academy existed and you could go there, become a pilot, and potentially still pursue that dream, then I decided that was the direction I wanted to go.
Excellent. So, of course, you have a fairly prolific career, I'll say. Talk me through a little bit of that as much as you can.
Sure, yeah. So after Williamstown High School, I ended up going straight to the Air Force Academy for 4 years there for college. Majored in astronautical engineering with a Russian minor, and then luckily after I graduated, instead of getting assigned straight to pilot training, I went to grad school and got to get a degree in mechanical and aerospace engineering from the University of Colorado. From there, I got to go to Shepherd Air Force Base for the Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training, which was about a year-long course where we got to fly the T-6 and the T-38. And it's a pretty interesting place to be because we get a lot of different students and instructors from all across NATO involved. So we got a wide breadth of international students that we got to fly with and instructors. From there, I got selected to become an A-10 pilot. So we went through an introductory course for fighter fundamentals, still there at Shepherd Air Force Base for another couple months. Then I went on to Tucson to go through the initial training for A-10, and then I got to fly the A-10 operationally for the next 6 years. So a couple years in Korea, and then about 3 years at Moody Air Force Base in Georgia, where I got some deployment time as well. And then from there, I've been to Edwards Air Force Base going through test pilot school.
So that's what you're doing right now, stationed at Edwards Air Force Base out in California, and test pilot school is what you are into right now.
Correct. Yeah, I've been through about 6 months of the school. It's a 48-week program, so about 5 more months remaining until we'll get to graduate.
And then, so where does that take you once you get graduation? What's the next step?
Sure. We found out all of our assignments already. So for my class, we have about 23 or 24 people. Half of them are pilots and half are engineers, roughly. We have some navigators and weapon system operators as well. However, for me, I'll be going to Eglin Air Force Base that's in near Destin in Florida, where I'll get to fly some test and evaluation for the F-16.
Very cool. Something that I learned while I was talking to your dad, big shout out to him for helping us organize this interview, your dad Vince. You are something I didn't realize you could be 6'6", is it, and still be a pilot?
Just about, yeah. Somewhere 6'4" to 6'5", but that's right at the limit, at least at the time it was for me. So now the Air Force actually is expanding some of those limits to help more people across the spectrum of sizes, both male and female,
sure,
to have the opportunity to fly.
And as I understand it, your height was one of the things that was sort of an impediment to you as you were in training. As far as in reference to being able to pull G-forces. Sure.
Yeah. Statistically speaking, taller people have more trouble with pulling G-forces. So I had a lot of training, additional training to go through for the centrifuge to make sure I was ready to pull some of the Gs that we see for fighter aircraft.
And then as you pursue astronaut training, that is something that you have to sort of prepare, that's something that you have to prepare for even more maybe than some other folks.
Potentially, yes. So I'll actually get to another chance here to go back to the centrifuge before I go fly the F-16. But surprisingly, for the most part, astronauts would probably experience less G-forces than what we do in some of the fighter aircraft.
Oh wow! So really, it's really the F-16 that's kind of the big deal as far as the G-force then.
It will be, yes.
Interesting. So how many planes are you certified to fly, and what's your favorite?
So we get, while we're here at TPS, we'll get to fly approximately 20 to 30 different aircraft. We're not specifically qualified to fly any of them for the rest of our career, so we just kind of get some what we call qualification evals, where we just kind of check out the aircraft, get more experience, more breadth of knowledge to be able to assess pretty much any kind of aircraft that they throw us into. So we get, depending on what aircraft we're training in, we get a wide variety of hours. So I've actually flown a lot of hours in the C-12, the F-16, and the T-38, but we'll see anything from helicopters to gliders to big, heavy aircraft. And even for our thesis project, I'll be flying a Russian Mi-2 helicopter, and I'll get a few hours in that as well, doing some night flying.
Interesting. So, we've talked about you're in test pilot school now, currently, and you are the second ever test pilot to come out of the state of West Virginia, of course, Chuck Yeager being the other. Talk about that a little bit, and maybe if you ever had an opportunity to meet Mr. Yeager, or, if he made a specific impact on your life.
Sure. I can neither confirm nor deny that claim, but that would be pretty awesome if that's the footsteps that I'm following. But for Chuck Yeager, definitely has had a huge impact. I actually see his picture every day on the wall. So Chuck Yeager was one of the commandants here at TPS, as well as some other noted names like Buzz Aldrin and Jimmy Doolittle. So it's pretty interesting to see who's actually been in charge of the school that I'm going through, and some of the graduates like Gus Grissom and Joe Engel. So it's pretty amazing to see who's been through there and what they've gone on to do. For Chuck Yeager specifically, it's pretty amazing to know his career and to see everything that he's done and be here where he's done all of that amazing work. So he flew as Bell X-1 Glamorous Glennis here over Rogers Dry Lake back in 1947. It's the same lake bed that I get to fly over every single day, and it's pretty amazing to think that he came from West Virginia as well, playing basketball and football, then enlisting in the Army Air Corps at the time, but eventually transitioning to a pilot in World War II. But he definitely has one amazing track record, both in combat and in test, especially obviously being the first person to break the sound barrier and being a multi-ace at that.
Sure, absolutely. So we are talking with Major Ross Elder, a Williamstown graduate and now in test pilot school and currently stationed at Edwards Air Force Base. Can we get just one cool moment from your career, something that you've just done and just thought, wow?
Oh, man. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of them. Yeah, I mean, I loved the last 6 years flying the A-10, so I've got some interesting combat tales for those. But since I've been here at TPS, I think I've got to see some wild things that they let us do. So, one of the first flights that we do here is we get either in the T-38 or the F-16. We'll fly a tower flyby, so we're going near the speed of sound at about 50 feet above the ground, so that we can calibrate the air data system that we have. Other stuff that we get to do is we get to practice our space shuttle landings, basically. So we fly in the T-38, basically the same approach to the space shuttle will see as they landed here at Edwards. So that's a pretty amazing thing to see and feel. And then even last week, or a couple weeks ago, we ended up getting to depart the F-16 intentionally. So it's something you never want to do operationally, but kind of putting the aircraft out of control and finding ways to recover it. And it's pretty wild, the things that they let us do and the things that we do just to be able to learn.
I've gone the whole interview without joking about like Top Gun or anything like that, but you talk about buzzing the tower, and it just begs a Top Gun reference.
Yeah, I mean it's fairly accurate, but the tower is indeed designed to do that for that specific mission. So we'll have the engineers that's in my class. They're in the tower and they're measuring us with special equipment. And then when we land, both the pilots and the engineers do all the math and the data analysis to figure out exactly how to calibrate the system so that you know all of your readings while you're flying is safe, especially if you're flying a new experimental test aircraft.
So, you know, we talked early in the interview, and I won't keep it for much longer, sir, but we talked early in the interview about, you know, you had a sort of a lifelong goal to be an astronaut, and that's the path that you followed. Something that I've realized, you know, just learning about you and talking to your dad and stuff, is that there is an amazing amount of school and just, I mean, you have to be just extremely intelligent to do all the things that you've done and the schooling that you've had. So what advice would you give to a young person that is looking to pursue the same path?
I would say, if you're thinking about specifically the education realm, I would say start focusing on engineering. Especially in this realm, you need to be able to know how things work, mechanical systems. I think it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be the smartest person around. You just have to be dedicated and love what you're learning. And I think if you enjoy the engineering aspect, then that's something that you can go after pretty easily. Because there's hundreds and thousands of hours that were in the books, and if you don't enjoy reading it, then it's just going to be impossible for you. But if it's something that you love, then it's pretty easy to do.
All right, Major Ross Elder, we very much appreciate you joining us today. You know, once again, throw a shout out to your dad, who I very much enjoyed talking to last week, and we appreciate his help setting up the interview. Certainly appreciate your time, and thank you for your service as well.
Yeah, thank you so much.